And I have a sheet set up to practice data validation. Now I could scroll left and right, but those of you who have been in some of my earlier modules here, you know my trick about getting a table of contents of your workbook. And if you haven't been looking at the earlier modules, let me show you my table of contents trick right now. I'm going to right click on any of these navigation arrows down in the lower left hand corner. Usually I use these to scroll to the right and go find a sheet and click on it, and then scroll to the left and go find another sheet and click on it. But if I point at one of those navigation arrows and right click, I get a table of contents of my worksheet. Here's the names of all my worksheets, and the one I want to talk about is named data validation. So try that with me. Go right click on one of your navigation tabs and then left click on the sheet named data validation. Alright, let's talk about this worksheet for a moment. Here are some of my best customers, my top 7 or 8 customers here. I want to hook them up with a sales rep, and I want to fill in their credit limit, and I want to do it in a way that will make life easier for my data entry operator. We want to take pity on them. Number one, it's a thankless job, and number two, anytime I need to print reports out of the data, I would like to make sure the data is nice and clean before I have to try to make reports on it. I don't want to have to spend all my time scrubbing data. So first of all, we're going to see a way that we can set it up so that the data entry operator is only allowed to choose from a list of available choices. We're going to do that in the sales rep column. I'm going to start out doing it in one cell, and then we'll see how to expand it to the other cells. So I'm going to click on cell C6, and I'm going to build a list of salespeople right here, and it's going to pull that list from these cells right over here. So I'm sitting in cell C6. I'm going to go to the Data Command tab, produces the data ribbon, and then to look at data validation, it's got its own button over here in the Data Tools group. So I'm going to click on the Data Validation button, and it opens up the Data Validation dialog window. It's got 3 parts to it: the settings, the input message, and the error alert. The settings are how you define the rule. The input message is how you tell the data entry person what they're supposed to be doing, and the error alert only pops up if they've made a mistake and tries to explain what they've done wrong. So you usually work this left to right. I'm going to click the Settings tab, and right now it says in this cell they're allowed to type in any value they want. But there's a list arrow here, so I'm going to click on the list arrow, and I'm going to say I want to limit them to only choosing from a list that I will provide right now. So I'm going to allow list. And then it asks me for the source of the list, and I could actually click right here and start typing choices separated by semicolons. But in this case, I've actually got the list of salespeople right here. So I'm going to click to put my cursor in the source box, and then I'm going to drag from Jack Tate down to Wendy Sue as the source for the list, and then I'm going to choose OK. And now when I click on this little pull-down arrow, there's a list of salespeople, and I can click on one, and it fills that in. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm going to go click in that cell, and I'm going to say I want to assign Fernando. And I hit the Enter key, and it says, no, the value you entered isn't valid. The user has restricted values that can be entered into this cell. Retry. So if I click retry, I'm not allowed to type anything that's not on that list. I have limited them to the list. But how will they know that they're limited to the list? Well, if I had gone to all 3 tabs under there, they would know. So I'm still working in that one cell. I'm going back to my data validation button. It remembers the rule that I've set up. But now I'm going to go to the input message tab. So when the cell is selected, show this input message. It's going to be a little dialog window, and I can fill in the title and I can fill in the message. So the title could say, click on the list arrow, and then the message could say, then click a sales rep name. And then I'm going to have the error alert. This is what happens when they haven't followed directions. And I can have different styles here. And at first it looks like the style is just the icon, but actually the style also manipulates how the workflow will go here. If you make it a stop icon, they cannot go forward until they've followed your rule. So the title, and remember, this only pops up when they've broken the rule that you told them about in the input message. So the error alert title box could say, bad data. And then the error message could say, you were supposed to choose a name from the list. and I'd never be able to do this in real life, but I'm going to take this chance to say, you Dumkopf. Alright, so let's see how this plays out now. I'm clicking on OK. So if I click on any other cell, I don't get any kind of warnings there. I've only done it for one cell here. So I click in this one, click on the list arrow, and then click a sales rep name. So I click on there, I click on a sales rep name. I click away, I go to another cell. Life is good, nobody's complaining at me. I go back to that cell, and I try to type in Fernando. Now I can already see what I'm supposed to do, but I have broken that rule, so I hit the enter key and it says, no, bad data, you were supposed to choose the name from the list, you Dumkopf. So I can retry. I could actually type in Jack Tate. As long as I type something that's on the list, I get no errors. Well, why would I work that hard when I can just choose the list from the pull down? So now what I need to do is take that formatting and continue it to the rest of the cells in that column, and I'm going to do that with my autofill arrow. I'm going to get my skinny black cross by touching that little dot. I'm going to drag down to the rest of the cells. Now right now it assigns Jack Tate to all of those cells, but I could go in and just tap the delete key and then start it over again. So if I click on any cell except the ones in that column, I get no warning message, but if I click on one of those cells, it says, all right, you're supposed to use the list, and you click on a choice and it fills that in, but if you type something that's not on the list, it complains. So that's making it a little tougher for my data entry people to make pilot error, we'll call it. I won't call it foolproof because fools are so ingenious. So that's my first example of data validation. So I'm about to put the video on pause, and I'd like you to try that. So here's how we did it. We clicked on the very first cell. We went to the data ribbon. We clicked on data validation. We filled in the rule that said they can only choose from a list, and we said the source of that list were these cells right here from F6 down to F12. We clicked to put our cursor in that box, and we dragged from Jack Tate down to Wendy Sue as the source for that list. We went to the input message tab, and we typed in this stuff that we want them to see. The title, click on the list arrow. The input message, then click a sales rep name, and then error alert only pops up if they have not done what we told them to do, and it had a title that said bad data, and you were supposed to choose a name from the list, and you don't have to insult them if you don't want to. And so far we've got this as a stop style icon, and the stop style icon says if they don't follow the rule, they are not allowed to go forward until they do. It stops them right in their tracks. So I'm putting the video on pause. You're going to go create that, and then you're going to test it out, and once you've got it working, grab the autofill handle and drag down to fill the rest of the column so that they all act the same way. And then if you got names in there, you drag across those cells and simply hit the delete key to clear them out again. All right, your turn. I'm putting the video on pause.